Welcome to Keep Hustling, where we are going past the why to get to the how. I'm your host, the always hustling Aaron Gordon, aka NY Risk Advisor, aka Mr. Keep Hustling. In this podcast, we will be diving deep into the professional and personal successes of our guests to find out how they hustled through the most difficult times in their life and their development to achieve the success they've gotten to today. So buckle up for what hopes to be an amazing ride. And of course, now and always, keep hustling. Welcome to Keep Hustling with my guest, Michael Stawicki. Thank you so much for being here.
Hello, thanks for having me. It's an honor.
It's an honor to have you because you are our first guest, both from and located in Poland. So I am so happy that the Keep Hustling podcast is expanding its reach. Hustle knows no bounds, and I think that the influence that people can have knows no bounds. So really, thank you for being here. So let's jump right in. You are a prolific author, as I say on most episodes. Everyone should just hit the pause button if you didn't already. Read the bio, look at the books, look at everything that Michael's accomplished, and tell us a little bit about what inspired you to focus on what you're doing today. I know that you'd made a little of a career pivot from database administrator to business coach and inspirational leader. So kind of how did that evolve from your childhood to where we are today?
Okay, from my childhood, I was born in communistic Poland, in 97, then before Solidarity and all that turmoil. So when I was getting into adulthood, it was very troublesome time for my country, where we changed from communistic to capitalistic system, and everything was in chaos. And so the previous generation, like in US, they were you go to the university, study, get some stable job, and so on. That was they thinking of the sure path to success in life. So I followed that path, and I went to the good university in Poland, studied IT, worked in IT, started my family when I was in college. So in 2012, I was this probably average Joe working in a corporation. I was making two average salaries, but I was supporting the whole family. So that wasn't... we weren't wealthy, and I was miserable in my job, in my life. I felt like there is some more in life, and when I took an inventory of my life, I wasn't really happy with anything, like relationships, fitness, health, career, and so on. Everything was okay-ish, but nothing was great. And then I was on vacations in Ireland, visiting my parents who immigrated there. And my sister borrowed me a book, The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. And that was a pivotal moment for me, because the message of the book is success is a few simple disciplines repeated over time. And prior to that, I had thought success is something grand. Starting a new Microsoft, that's success, or golden medal at Olympics. But small, simple disciplines, and so I didn't even try to succeed because I wasn't capable of that. Yeah, so that was my excuse. But since reading the book, I examined my past, and I've discovered I had some simple disciplines that got me to bigger successes, like my scholarship at the university. I was admitted as the third but last on the list. And then on the fourth year, I was in the top 25% of students. And the discipline was very simple. Show up on every lecture. Because my peers didn't do that, that's why I was able to get in front of them. So those kind of stories spoke to me because they were my personal experience, and I gave myself permission to try this path. And the rest is history. I started exploring personal development, rediscovered my dream for writing, wrote 19 books, then got into book advertising on Amazon and did some coaching credentials. And in 2022, I quit my day job. And now, since then, I'm a full-time entrepreneur.
I think there's a lot of amazing things in your journey, and I think the most important thing or one of the most important things that anybody who's listening to this can focus on is the fact that there were two things that happened, one after the other, somewhat simultaneously. And that is, you said that you took an inventory of your life and you evaluated what was going on. Now, a lot of people are in a position where they feel stuck or they're not happy with where they are, and yet they don't feel that they could get out of that by themselves. And that's fine. But I think the first step is taking that inventory. But equally as important is your sister gives you the book and you decide that you're going to make the change. A lot of people complain, take that inventory, do that with their lives, and yet can't execute or don't execute on making that change that is the change that they want, that's going to change their life, that's going to make them happy. And yet being that vessel that can accept that, change the course of your history, right?
Amen.
So I think, and I think the idea that you champion of the small incremental changes that a person can make is huge, but it requires becoming Mr. Consistency, or no one else can be Mr. Consistency, but a student or a child of consistency. And do you believe that consistency is something that a person can develop over time, or something that's innate, or how does a person commit to that and then stay with it on a very consistent basis?
Like, consistency by its definition is something which recurs, is regular, consistent, and that's all you need. So where we have trouble with that, it's usually when we aim too high with it. For example, I decided to become a writer at the beginning of my journey. And I started writing, but I was working full-time, having 3 kids, charge responsibilities, commuting about 2 hours one way. It was a lot. So then I would set myself up for a failure if I said to myself, let's write 10,000 words a day or 5,000 words a day. No, that was impossible for me. And we often decide for those impossible things and make them, trying to make them daily, like those proverbial New Year's resolutions that fail usually around the 8th of February. I will go to the gym 3 times a week and pump iron for an hour, but I was sitting on my butt for the last 5 years. So those two pictures just do not.
But so what you're saying is that the average person sets unrealistic goals? Because I assume when they set the goal, it doesn't seem unrealistic. But is that because the average person doesn't know what an appropriate goal is to become consistent? Like, for instance, I wanted to get into drinking a lot of water. There was a period of time when I wanted to drink a gallon of water a day. And I live my life in extremes. It's one of the things that some people make fun of me about, but that's okay. And I think you're right that where I ultimately failed in that task was, why didn't I went from 0 to drinking a gallon. It's much easier to say, from the time I wake up till noon, I'm going to drink a cup of water. Anybody can do that any day. And by the way, at 11:55 a.m., you could just drink 8 ounces of water. It's not like consuming a gallon, right? I mean, and I think that's where people picked up on taking 10,000 steps a day or whatever the number is. It's not running a marathon. Eventually people get to that. But are you saying that you believe that it's inherent in the human condition to set unrealistic goals that are therefore inherently unable to be consistent?
Well, or maybe not. What's the word you used? Incoherent?
unrealistic.
Well, so it's not about exactly about those expectations, but also about our self-judgment. You know about the growth mindset and fixed mindset. Yeah? So if you have fixed mindset and you decide to drink a gallon and you didn't drink a gallon, then you are a failure and everything is wrong and you are so furious about yourself, and it will not end well. And many of us are like that. So let's avoid this conundrum and start with a cup of water and not a gallon. And then you avoid all this emotional turmoil, and you are slowly progressing till you reach the gallon. So you always, like, this is what Jeff Olson teaches in The Slight Edge. And you pick a goal. Okay. And then you ask yourself, what can I do every single day to inch toward that goal? So if I wanted to write, I couldn't write 10,000 words. What I could do, that's the question you ask yourself. What I could do on a day that I'm exhausted, I'm sick, that I'm traveling and everything gets into my way. If you can do your small discipline then you can do it any other day. And this is how the level of difficulty you should set up for you to become consistent. Because what we do not understand when it comes to forming habits, there are so many myths about it. It takes 21 days, 30, 60, and so on. The only research, which I think wasn't that realistic, concluded that it takes on average 66 days to develop a habit. And then you think, okay,
that's a lot.
Drinking a gallon a day for 66 days. Oh, heck. Well, maybe 3 cups will do it.
But do you think that comes from people not knowing themselves, or people just making the mistake of overshooting? Meaning, does the average person who makes that New Year's resolution that doesn't last till February 8th, is that because they have an unrealistic view of themselves, or because the goal is just too high?
I would say, and it comes also to this not judging well enough how long it takes really to turn something into this discipline. It's a matter of lack of awareness. It's because we are in constant hurry and bombarded by zillions of impulses from everywhere, social media, email, and so on. And most of the people, out of those who set up those New Year's resolutions, they do not stop to ask themselves this one question. What can I do every day? No. They just ask, okay, what I want. I want this beach body. I want to learn new language. I want this and that. End of process, yeah?
So you're saying that the person doesn't even ask themselves the right question of what can I accomplish? They just say, okay, how do I lose 30 pounds? Look online, it says to drink 2 gallons of water a day. Great, I'm going to do that. But hold on a second. Can I do that? And therefore, or is there another thing? What can I do that only takes 10 minutes a day? Maybe that's, running and exercising very hard, but for 10 minutes, instead of saying, I'm going to exercise for 2 hours a day, which a person is more likely to not be able to achieve. So I guess you're right. I guess it's about that next question that people don't ask. I want to follow up. I want to follow that up with another question about your work. And that is that a lot of people think that dedication, consistency, and achieving their goals requires, as you say, to have to sacrifice everything in life to grow personally and professionally. And you feel just the opposite. You feel that a person does not have to sacrifice that and sacrifice that balance. So I don't want to give away the secret sauce, but what does that mean to you, and how have you come to that thesis?
This concept of work-life balance, it is very personal. For example, I'm following Alex Hormozy, and he has no kids. So his approach to work and life is totally different than mine. And he's not in a position to tell me what should I do, and vice versa. So, and
Have you
also
ever seen Mr. Beast? Do you know who he is? The YouTube
no,
star?
I just heard of him that he's very successful YouTuber.
So he's the biggest YouTube star. I want you to finish this, but I want to say something even more interesting about him because I am also a big Alex Hormozi fan. But he recently did an interview, a tour. His bedroom is right in his studio. He's single, and his work philosophy / schedule is he works extremely hard, basically 24 hours a day until he cracks. And then he just binge sleeps. I don't even know if that's a term, but I'm coining it. And then he recovers and then he breaks himself down again. And to your point, that's very, I don't know, I'm not going to talk about how healthy that may be, but that's definitely attainable and possible and doable when you are a single 20-something-year-old. But take you with 3 children or me with 5 children, and that's impossible. So you were saying, so you follow him, you follow Hormozi, and a lot of people take the wrong advice. What does that mean?
So, well, Alex actually says he's not giving advice. Yeah, it's always take whatever works for you from that. But I mean, Mr. Beast's schedule or Alex's schedule is not for me. Like, because I have different life, and you need to figure out for you what's in it for you. For Alex, work is play. Like, this all he does, plus some relationship stuff. But I'm a believer and Alex is not. So I have charge responsibilities and activities. I have 3 kids and I'm married to a more conservative woman than him. So we spend time together differently, and we don't share the same business, so we don't have the same interests in this area, and so on and so on. 2 different lives. You need to figure out for yourself what you value and make time for that. And also different seasons of life cries for different things, because if you are single or you are married but with no kids, then you can dedicate a lot of time to your side hustle and main one. But as soon as kids appears, my youngest sister got her firstborn like not even 2 months ago. That's a teeny little sweet thing, but it takes so much time and attention, and you're just sapping your strength because you are underslept and so on. So you need to figure out what's important for you, what are boundaries for you, and then like concrete examples. When I was starting my writing career, I decided to write for half an hour a day, and to write at least 400 words a day. Actually, at the beginning, it took me about an hour to write 400 words. But I was doing that while commuting to work or back from it, because this was this window of time that I could utilize for that. Instead of taking a nap, I was writing. And that's the perfect example of adjusting your priorities to your environment, to your life. Because yes, you could decide, I could decide, okay, I want to be a writer, so I divorce this woman, start a new career, I will move to my parents maybe, so I can live with them for the next 10 years when I'm working on my craft. Yeah, that's a possibility, but not many people are taking that kind of chances.
But isn't that one and the same with your idea of consistency, that a person has to, I feel like what's coming through in your work and in what you've developed and in the people that you've helped is a real view of self and a real analysis of self. How do you become consistent? Find something that you can do every day. Not what the guru is saying. How do you create a work-life balance? Figure out what's important to you. Figure out what you're willing to give up for that, or what you're not willing to give up for that. Same thing. Self-evaluation, self-understanding, and then working back from there, which is far different than saying, I have to do this every single day. That's work. And then my life can go around. That's almost like life-work balance, not work-life balance. for lack of a better term.
Yeah, you said it very well.
So I'm just curious, how long does it take you to write 400 words now?
Didn't got that much better, but let me do a quick calculation. 20 minutes.
So consistency, right? That's part of the message.
Practice makes master.
I'm fascinated by this because our goal is to inspire people's hustle, and I think that hustle can be defined in a bunch of different ways. But the most important thing that a person can do if they want to keep hustling is, as you said, find something that they can do every single day that doesn't burn them out. Do you find that when people find that consistency and that they get on that bike with the wheels in motion, that it actually becomes easier for them to hustle and they can achieve more than they ever thought?
Absolutely. We are biologically designed for that. Have you read the book, The Talent Code?
No, I've heard of it, but I have never read it.
Yeah, so I think it was by Daniel Coyle. Anyway, we have a substance in our brains called myelin, and whenever you do something and then repeat, the neural path forms, and the more you repeat it and with like more energy and emotions, the neural signals got stronger, and it attracts this substance, myelin. It encompasses the neural path, and what the substance does, it makes the impulses go even faster and stronger. So whatever we do consistently, we are getting better at it, and it's about everything we do. It's about, he studied like sport and music industries, how talents develop, but it applies to anything. I was a database administrator. I sit next to a guy who was just a master of his craft. I wasn't that interested in my job, very, very little in fact, but just by the being around him and doing some things he did, I absorbed, and I had those neural paths, and I changed my job, and I got very ambitious project of tuning database, central database for airline, and I did it, and I was like surprised with myself. How come? Yeah, and I attribute that to just being around Bogdan, that guy, and absorbing knowledge, and I developed something in my brain, and I took it with myself to the next job.
I love the fact that there's a biological proof to this, because I've been saying this all along on this podcast, and why it's one of the reasons why I started it was because people don't realize that if you just keep hustling to a healthy extent, I'm not saying that, again, a person has to, if you figure out what your hustle is, and to every single person, it's a different hustle. And the taglines, we launched a clothing line, the Keep Hustling merchandise shop, and we have 4 taglines. And one of them is Keep Hustling as a mindset. The other is Keep Hustling as a lifestyle. Another is Keep Hustling, persistence pays. And the last is Dreams in action, never quit. And what connects all 4 of those is that those can be personalized. But I feel like when a person figures out what their lifestyle is, what their mindset is, what their persistence is to keep hustling, and what their dreams that they're putting in action are, they'll never quit. But I brought this up last week to someone, that there's this image that someone showed me of a guy who's climbing up a mountain or pushing a rock up a mountain, and he can't see but 1 foot in front of him, and he quits like 3 steps from the top because he can't see the top. And yet right over that threshold is a downward slope, which is very easy to push that rock down. And how many people, I love the fact that there's literally a biological thing that says that eventually, if you keep doing it, it will be built into your brain that you won't be able to stop. Your bike will be gravitationally pulled down a hill. And I think that there's something incredibly powerful about that in every single way.
Speaking of biology, the other great thing about habits, when you finally develop this neural loop of a habit, you can quit it, but it will still be in your brain. Like, it works against addicts That's why you need to be on your toes for your whole life if you was an alcoholic, for example, because in the time of stress, the old habits are reborn and you are compelled to go to your old ways. But it's the same with your old good ways. I developed a habit when I was 15 of doing series of push-ups till the failure point. I did that for several months, quit, then did it for a year or two, quit, and so on and so on. And in 2006, it was the last time I picked it up again, and I'm keep doing it. And what's the point of the story here is, like, not everybody is able and willing to get on the floor and do like 40 push-ups. That was my max in 2006 when I was overweight. Like, that's like huge thing in the mind of most of people. But for me, it was like super easy. What I needed was just this decision, start doing it, and then getting back on that track was easy. It was already built in.
And I think that I think it's both biological, like you're saying, it's psychological, that a person can hark back to that, even if they have a downturn, and say, at one point in my life, I did do this. I did. And therefore, I know I can. It's not like I'm physically unable or mentally unable. I know. Forget about what this other person says. I know that I can do push-ups every single night before I go to sleep. Right now, I'm not. Or right now, I wish I was. But I actually know, a person is scared of heights, so they're not going to, if their goal is to scale a building without a those people who free climb buildings, that's never going to happen. And they can never tap into that. But what about the person that did do that? And then I think you see this all the time with athletes that have terrible sports injuries. How is it that they're able to get back to that when they have to literally, their knee is reconstructed? I think a lot of that is they know that they got there before, and therefore they have the confidence to push through or hustle through the times that are more difficult to get back to that moment where so many people could have, but they just don't have that reference points to get back to.
Yep, but there is about whatever any other person did, you can do it as well.
Correct. But what I'm saying is, what
I'm saying, you are 100% right. You have the confidence because you did that, but also you can build your confidence because at one time, I wasn't a writer. I wasn't. Okay, another fun story. It took me a month to figure out what writers do because I wanted to be a writer. I want to be a writer. I read the books about, and then, writers write. I should write. Start writing. Yeah. So this is how hopeless I was. And now I'm 3 million words ahead, 19 published books. So you can do it.
I love that. This is the ultimate hustle message. So thank you for being here. It's not just your story, but actually how you live and what you're doing right now that should inspire others. As I said, everyone should look at the books, look at your website, make sure to engage with their content, because I think that you can really help people make true life changes in their hustle. We ask our guests to leave us with their favorite all-time or current motivational, inspirational quote and what it means to them. So Michael, again, thank you for being here and take us home.
Success is a few simple disciplines repeated over time. It changed my life. It unlocked the pursuit of success in my life. I gave myself permission because I finally could believe I can succeed because I can do small, simple things. And it overcomes so many fears, fears of failure and of inadequacy and so on. And like you just do small. And the most beautiful thing about it is that you do small, simple things consistently, but they compound into something huge, something great. Now I'm on this wonderful international podcast. 11 years ago, like nobody could tell my name, not even my neighbors really, because I was so close and so shy. And it was small, simple things. You cannot connect the dots, like 10 minutes of practicing speed reading or 10 minutes of studying IT database documentation or 10 minutes of study of the Bible. That was my initial disciplines. How come it turned into me being an entrepreneur, having my own business, being known internationally, having sold almost 100,000 copies of my books? It doesn't make sense, but it works that way.
And I think I love that, and I love that quote. And the two most important words there are few. Don't be overwhelmed. It's just a few, and they'll always be small. Those small things, they'll always be small in your mind, right? You're just taking a small step. Now, I think what you're saying is, if you look back 11 years, what your definition of small has changed. But as long as your goals become each day to do a few small things every single day consistently, then a person can achieve incredible success like you have. So thank you so much. Thank you for being here.
You're most welcome. It was an honor. Thank you for having me.
This has been another episode of Keep Hustling. Remember, do well by doing good. And of course, and always, even small, even a few, even simple things, keep hustling. All right, hustlers, that brings us to the end of another fantastic episode. Thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. If you have any suggestions, comments, or even just want to say hello, please feel free to reach out to us on all social media platforms. We are Keep Hustling Pod. Until next time, stay curious, stay hungry, and keep hustling.